Hi everyone, welcome to our third episode of the Underground Living Room series. I'm Bianca and this is my husband Kedek. This is our information where you can find us. We have a lot of wonderful people going to be performing tonight, mostly women tonight, which is really awesome for me, just girls that I have known, women I have known for many years of my life. And also the film that we're going to be showing is by a male director, but it is also based off of women's lives too. So I'm very excited to show that as well. So a little bit about why we're here. We are doing this show to inspire all the artists that I know and may not know and hope to know soon to keep making art during this time. And this might be one of our last shows since the state of our world may be changing, hopefully. So we will keep you posted if we will keep having these. So tonight, me and Kedek are going to be performing a song called Alfonsina y el Mar. This song has been quite a challenge for me, but Kedek has been super patient with helping this to happen. So we'll do our best for you tonight. Su pequeña huella no vuelve más. Un sendero solo de pena, silencio llegó hasta el agua profunda. Un sendero solo de penas fundas llegó hasta las plumas. Sabe Dios que angustia te acompañó, que dolores viejos cayó tu voz para recostarse arrullada en el canto de las caracolas marinas. La canción que canta en el fondo oscuro de mar, la caracola. Te vas Alfonsina con tu soledad, que poemas nuevos fuiste a buscar. Una voz antigua de viento y de sal te requebra en el mar y lo está llevando y te vas hacia allá como en sueños. Dormida Alfonsina, esta vida de mar.
Presentes caballos marinos harán una ronda a tu lado. Los habitantes del agua van a jugar a tu lado. Bájame la lámpara un poco más, déjame que duerma dormisa en paz. Y si llama él, no le digas que estoy, dile que Alfonsina no vuelve. Y si llama él, no le digas nunca que estoy, ni que me Dejas a Alfonsina con tu soledad. En las llamas fuiste a buscar una voz antigua de viento y de sal. Te requiebra el alma y la está llamando y tomas hacia allá con sueños. Querida Alfonsina, me brindan We had a special appearance by my dog Karu in the background, so I guess she was really loving this song tonight. So we have a special treat that we're going to be doing throughout the show this evening, and it's going to be featuring a really good friend of mine named Vasta. So Vasta, she is a clothing designer, and I'm going to be showing some of her clothes tonight in between some of our sets. So we're going to welcome Vasta onto our show to come and tell us a little bit about what she does and her clothing line and her business. Hey Vasta, how are you?
Good morning.
I'm doing well. So we're going to give it on over to Vasta so she can tell you a little bit more about who she is and what her clothing line is all about. So give it away.
Hello everybody, my name is Vasta. I am Amaro. I'm born and raised in Rwanda. I also grew up in New York City, went to school in New York, high school and college. Lived around the world and traveled to many countries for work as Amaro. 3 years ago, I went back to Rwanda for the first time in 10 years, and I was inspired to make clothing because over there, the beautiful, colorful scenery you see everywhere, it's very inspiring. This is one of the clothes I make that I'm wearing. I'm not sure if you can see, you cannot see the whole coat, but it's very colorful, very fitting, beautiful. You can put dress, skirts. Right now I am in Texas. I was in the States for work, but I got stuck here because of COVID-19. I'm hoping to go back home soon. I should be home by now, but it's gonna take another month maybe. I'm not sure. So right now the production is at our stop. We cannot work. I mean, in Rwanda they are back to work, but since I'm here with no income, I have to lay off a few people. But I hope to get back to work soon, hopefully sooner than before I get back there. But if you want to check out more of my clothing, please visit IWACU boutique.com. I am the owner and sorry. Okay, let me go back to Bianca. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to seeing all of your performance.
Wait. Say it again.
As Vasta said, this is where you can find her clothes. Hope you can support all the work that she does. This is one of her coats. So I was very fortunate that Vasta came through San Francisco for one of her shoots, and she had a bunch of her clothes with her, and she left them here at my apartment. So I get to show a lot of these tonight. So this is one of her jackets that she has. She imagines this as being a piece that is more like for business or something more dressing up. So this is one of her jackets that she has. Next up, we are going to be having my friend Alysia Gonzales. So we're going to welcome Alysia over here. Hi Alysia, how are you?
How are you?
I'm doing good. So I went to high school with Alysia, and I got to see her as a performer back in those days, which is how we know each other. But now Alysia is focusing on all her writing, and I'll tell you a little bit about who she is. So Alysia Gonzales is an MFA candidate in fiction at San Francisco State University. She received her BA in Cinematic Arts from the University of Southern California, then found her way back home to San Francisco. She spends her free time hiking, baking bread, watching film and TV, and of course, reading and writing. Her work deals with racial and socioeconomic identity, as well as ancestry and complicated familial relationships. It also sometimes includes food. So this is where you can find Alysia's writing, and I will be posting where you can follow her on Twitter later today. Awesome. So we're going to give it on over to Alysia to share a piece of her work with us.
Awesome. Thanks, Bianca. Really excited about this piece. It's still a little raw, but it was something that I started writing before the quarantine and the shelter in place, and I found myself totally unable to produce any writing of any kind. I was hardly able to read. And then I sort of found my way back to this piece, and it morphed and kind of mutated into something that sort of helped me process everything that's going on. Also, you might hear some dog sounds in the background from our dog also, so if you do, I apologize. So this piece is still a little raw, but I'm continuing to work on it, but I wanted to get it out into the virtual sunlight to give it some exposure to see how that affects the rest of the work. So I'll just read an excerpt. It's pretty long, so I'll just go maybe 10 to 15 minutes. Bianca, I'll start to ask you when we get closer to running out of time to see how I'm doing. We'll just see how far I get. The title right now is Becoming the Town Bruja and Other Unlikely Events. It was a commonly accepted fact by everyone in town that Carmen was a bruja. It was only logical, they thought, since every woman in Carmen's family was also a bruja. She came from a seemingly never-ending line of brujas who had practiced in the town since it was founded by Ignacio Cortez in 1863. Their family history, a story Carmen had heard 1,000 times and involuntarily knew by heart, entangled and anchored in the town's past, their bloodline habitating to this very day the historic wooden cottage by the lake, built when the matriarch, great-great-great-grandma Alejandra de Suelo, saw the plans for the house in a vision, the house large enough to fit as many as 13 women inside, which up until very recently was technically illegal, as the number constituted the establishment as a brothel. The town, however, in an attempt to let sleeping dogs lie, to avoid the perceived fury of the Del Suelo family, never pursued the enforcement of this law, and lost their chance to do so in the fall of 1969, when the law expired and was not renewed at the annual town hall, when Kit Fremont of the Fremont family Another bloodline that had inhabited the town since its early settlement had frothed at the mouth at the meeting after months of campaigning for the law's renewal, the crystal white bubbles dribbling down the sides of his now graying mutton chops, shouting, "Cowards!" not at the family in question, including Mama Guadalupe holding a baby Carmen swaddled in her arms, but at the townsfolk who, Kit believed, would sit idly by as the town rotted from the inside out, infected by what he called, quote, the ever-present and insistent locusts. And her family's continual alienation from town halls, barbecues, book clubs, gardening clubs, mechanic clubs, old car clubs, new car clubs, gambling clubs, and clubs and gatherings of various sorts. They were, for the vast and overwhelming majority of the time, left to their own devices, which Carmen believed was probably for the best, because despite the fact that she had never, and she believed would never practice la brujeria, since she didn't believe in that sort of thing, strongly with all her mind and heart that it was her family's right to fill their time here on earth with whatever things they wanted, regardless of whether or not it was practiced by, or believed in, or even interesting to the rest of the people whose great-great-great-grandparents had arbitrarily decided that this speck of land on the face of this speck of dirt in this speck of the galaxy was the specific speck that they would claim as their home. Plus, on top of that, it was sort of a tradition. Carmen's mother Guadalupe was a devoted bruja, and her mother before her, as well as her grandmother and great-grandmother, all the way up to great-great-great-grandma Alejandra, who was never seen in town without a hold stone on a string around her neck, an old habit she had learned about when her dead mother's ghost visited her on the same day the town was settled by pioneers. Alejandra had heard the voice of her dead mother whisper in her ear that a stone holed and smoothed by the flow of a nearby river would help evil spirits and general malady pass smoothly over her. Whenever Alejandra was anxious or scared, she would hold the stone in her hand, running her calloused and worked skin over its unblemished and cool gray surface, the curve of her fingers cradled by its holes. And when she did, she would feel the cilia, the minuscule hairs inside of her ear, stir and shift in response to a blow of wind unseen and unfelt by any other part of her body, as if it came from somewhere unknown, and yet very close to her neck. These stories didn't make La Brujeria any more or less magical to Carmen, or Carmen's mother Guadalupe, or Carmen's aunt Tia Patty, who lived with them, another devoted bruja in the family. No, for the three women of the Del Suelo family, La Brujeria was just a part of their day-to-day life. During the winter, when Mama Guadalupe undoubtedly fell ill with the flu, the insides of her head throbbing in her temples, the congestion swelling her wide-bridged nose, Carmen could count on seeing Tia Patty in the corner, mindlessly rubbing the smooth sides of an obsidian-pointed rock, chanting words of healing softly as her neck stood stiffly with her eyes peeled on the cathode ray tube television turned to Dr. Phil, the other constant in the cottage. Both her mother and aunt were pulled to the people on the show, watching with aching anticipation, as if the problems of those on the show were their own, waiting to see if they would get the closure they wanted, the answers they sought. Occasionally, her mother would flip tarot cards as she watched. Ay, mijita, she might say to the girl on the TV, the one who refused to listen to their mother as she flipped an upright six of swords. It doesn't look good for you. So, whenever something strange happened in the town, people thought it was Carmen and her family, casting powerful spells in the middle of the night. But chances were higher that Carmen was at home with her family, slathering a thick ointment of some gathered malva picked from the side of the highway, muddled together in the mortar, boiled and drained, smothering it onto her mother's bad knee, or perhaps brewing a mug of skullcap tea for insomnia for Tia Patty. Carmen, the only person out of the three who left the house daily to bag groceries at the local supermarket, found it easy to laugh off the lingering glances from others in the town as she stocked frozen corn at the grocery store, or the hesitation of a hand as she tried to send a bill at the post office. She fixed the image of the women in her family inside their house, faces glued to the TV with their precious adornments of crystals and herbs and chants, and Carmen smiled. There was no harm in it. Carmen had long ago made peace with the fact that her family was unapologetically themselves, despite how much easier life might be if her mother and Tia had worn denim jeans instead of the flowing skirts, put away the herbs despite their proven usefulness, and done as Carmen had done, and let themselves be absorbed by the town. And aside from Kit's outbursting, they had luckily remained largely untouched, with both Mama Guadalupe and Tia Patty solely remaining on the property for years, and Carmen going out to collect a meager paycheck on which to get by. Aside from the flurry of whispers that swelled when something strange happened in the town, the Del Suelo family was treated much as if they did not exist at all. And in this way, the town remained for many years. You can imagine then, dear reader, that the next event of note in the story is when something strange indeed happens in the town, and that peace, so long maintained on the edge of a precipice, is prodded and poked by acts of nature, weaponized by the mind of man. On a gray, drizzly morning, the weekend just after Thanksgiving, after the parade in town had been such a success, the makeshift singular float, sponsored once again by the Fremonts, rolling down Main Street and stopping for technical difficulties only once by the dentist's office, and then patriotically continuing onward, Mr. Whittell woke to let his cattle out of the barn while the weather still permitted it at this time of year, only to find his cows scared of the light. His cows usually leapt at the opportunity to get out of the dark barn, to gallop and spread on the pasture, to swat their tails at flies. But on this morning, they stumbled their stocky legs over each other in an attempt to avoid the open door, retreating farther and farther back into the dark side of the barn. He left the barn door open for the day, thinking little of it. Perhaps the cows sensed rain that day, or a thunderstorm coming in. Animals can sense many things before humans do. When Mr. Whittell came back at the end of the day to close the barn door, he was astonished to find his cows had not moved. They had not even left the barn to defecate. They stood, surrounded by a pile of their own excrement, not a single print of a hoof or a trace of movement to be found. Not a single one of them had moved at all. He closed the barn door and attributed it to either a storm or the scent of a predatory animal nearby. Tomorrow he would open the barn door, and they would undoubtedly all leap at the chance to escape the dark barn and stretch their legs. While they were out, he would clean the barn, make it nice and comfortable for them when they returned. Perhaps an extra layer of hay on the ground would comfort their hooves, supporting all that muscle and milk. He told this to his wife as they ate dinner. He did not reveal to her the impression in his mind of their eyes, the lids peeled, exposing the whites around the large black pupils, the unmoving bodies all huddled together in a mass. Hundreds of eyes looking back at him like a staring abyss of mindless tons of food and muscle and animal instinct. He did not reveal to his wife that he felt a bit afraid, seeing them all in there like that, staring at him, and that he closed the barn door rather quickly, his feet kicking up straws of hay as he skittered to roll the barn door closed. He heard no movement after the heavy metal lock clanked shut, echoing off the cavernous interior of the wooden barn. No, to say it out loud, even to someone as intimate as his wife, would have been to manifest the strangeness, to make it real. And despite keeping the oddity of the incident hidden from his wife, he himself could not shake the image from his mind as he lay in bed trying to sleep, the lidless black eyes of the mass of huddled cattle seared into the dark side of his eyelids. In the morning, Mr. Whittell felt a growing sense of dread as he made his way to the barn to open it, a tense knot in the pit of his stomach, about the size of a large russet potato and just about as dense. His legs were stiff, and he quickly attributed it to the cold morning, winter nipping at his heels. He wanted that to be true. He grabbed the icy metal handle of the barn door and flipped open the latch. The metal track screeching as he dragged the heavy wooden key slightly flinched. The light of a drizzly dawn fell upon the inside. Yesterday, Mr. Whittell had about 143 cows. This morning, a quarter of them were dead. Every farm deals with the unforeseen death of one or two of their cows, either from old age or infection, It's the way of nature to bring things to an end. But by the time Mr. Whittle was able to count them, forcing the other cows out of the barn by clapping his hands loudly and yelling, his palms red and raw and tingling in the cold morning air by the time he was done, he counted 33 cow carcasses in the barn. Mr. Whittle immediately called the town hall, scheduling it for the following Saturday. 4 days from the morning, he found his 33 dead cows. The town ran on cattle and lumber. The fire department pulled 80% of its budget from the sale of whole milk alone, and the cattle farms employed 65% of the working adults in town. Aside from the main market strip, which included the coffee shop, the supermarket, the vet, the dentist's office, and the thrift store, everyone else either worked in the lumber yard, the cattle farms, or drove as a truck driver. If the cattle farms did not survive, the entire town's economy would crumble. Over half the town would cease to get paychecks. No one would be getting their morning and afternoon coffees at the cafe. They'd buy less groceries at the market and definitely no extra winter coats at the thrift shop. Stores would close. More people would lose what little they had. Everyone in town, whether directly or indirectly, depended on people like Mr. Whittle and his cows. Carmen, since her family had been silently ostracized from all social events in town, never received the call of gossip from a neighbor that most in the town had. Nor did they hear a word of news from the post office as they picked up their mail. No. The only lifeline for the Del Suelo household, to the pulse of the town, was what Carmen could gather from the other cashiers talking separately in the break room, the husbands and wives chatting amongst themselves in the checkout line, the sideways conversations into a telephone barely hanging on in the crux between a bent neck and a shoulder. Carmen walked into the supermarket on Tuesday and saw Sandra and Caitlin, 2 young girls working part-time over the holidays from school, standing hunched by their checkout lines near the front door, their whispers jutting out of their mouth, creating hisses and staccato consonants that bounced off the plexiglass windows of the entrance, the slack of their aprons flush against the stagnant leather conveyor belt as they leaned over. When the chime of the entryway sounded as Carmen crossed the threshold, they whipped their heads simultaneously towards the front door, their thin hair stabbing the air around them, and stared. "Did you hear?" Sandra asked. And I'll stop there. It sounds like my 15 minutes is up, so I'll leave that one on a cliffhanger.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alysia. This is where you can find her writing, and this is where you can find her on Twitter. That was great. I can't wait to hear the rest of it. And once you're done with all your amazing writing, please share it with me. Thank you so much.
Will do, Bianca.
Right. So for those of you who are just joining us, I wanted to tell you a little bit about why we're doing this show. It's to inspire all the artists that I know to keep making art during this time and to inspire other people to want to be creative in some way. I'm also going to be showing my friend Vasta her clothing line, which this is one of her jackets, and I'll show it in a second. And I wanted to say a thank you to all my performers that did the show last time, which were Sophia, Jermaine, Nicholas, and Cassandra. You guys did an awesome show. So here's one of Vasta's jackets. She describes this as having a more of a feminine feel to it. It has a tie. She imagines this being something that you can wear to special events like weddings or lunches, and more of a daytime kind of feel for her couple. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be showing is a film by my friend Xavier Galindo. So Xavier is currently in Peru since 2018, but before that he was making a lot of films here in the Bay Area. So we're going to be showing one of his films. It is called El Remedio, The Prescription. So we're going to give it on away now.
Sometimes el penetración hace que el quiste, que en su caso es benign, se rupture y desaparezca del óvulo.
Ovario, doctor.
Sí. Lo mejor sería esperar para ver si revienta solo. Pero si quieres apresurar eso, el sexo puede reventar el quiste en tu rabo.
Ovario, doctor.
¿Cuándo fue la última vez usted tuvo sexo?
Cinco años.
El doctor te recetó, verga.
Cállate, te van a escuchar.
Es que nunca había escuchado eso. Es que tú también, Cecilia, 5 años. ¿Eres una monja? Es un culo de tiempo. ¿Y me vas a decir que no hay alguien por ahí que te calienta las hormonas?
Ya, yo salí. Si ya sabes, recién rompí con Andrés.
Mana, pero eso fue hace como 2 años. Y encima él se quedó ahí en México, mientras tú lo estabas esperando ahí como una santita 3 años. Estoy segura que ese perro ahí estaba saliendo con medio pueblo. Ya. Ya, bueno, pero eso ya fue. Esta noche vamos a divertirnos, ¿ah? Acuérdate lo que te recetó el doctor. Esta es nuestra farmacia. Ay, ¿qué pasa si encuentras un remedio que te guste acá?
No, no quiero andar de puta tampoco.
Ay, Cecilia, no tiene nada de malo divertirse un rato con alguien. La cosa es saber cómo hacerlo.
Ay, yo no soy así.
Mira a los muchachos del billar.
¿Qué estás haciendo? No.
Ay, ya, Cecilia. Ya sabes lo que te dijo el doctor. Para una vida sana, verga cada mañana.
El doctor no dijo eso, pendejo.
Vaya.
Disculpen, le podemos comprar unos shots.
Ya.
Dale pues, vamos.
¡Salud!
Dale, chavala, no puedes. Dale. Dale, otra, vamos. ¿Y vos cuánto tiempo tenés acá?
5 años.
5 años, ¿no? Ya vos sos local prácticamente. Y vos has hecho conexiones, conoces a gente.
Sí, claro. Hasta ya conocí al presidente Obama.
No, y el hijo de puta de Trump no lo has conocido.
No, ese no. Si lo conozco, lo deporto.
¿Y vos dónde lo vas a exportar, vos?
¡A la verga!
No va, pues yo te ayudo.
No,
Chavala, pero está, no.
Ey, están cerrando, loco. Ya nos vamos al apartamento.
Oh, vamos, vamos. Te están bienvenida.
Oye, no es fin de semana. Tengo que chambear en la mañana.
No, chamea.
Cecilia, no friegues. Yo mañana trabajo a las 6 a.m.
Mira a tu amiga. Ey. Me cae bien, chavala, vamos.
Salud. ¿Y cuánta gente vive aquí?
Bueno, por ahora somos 5, pero tengo un primo que viene de Nicaragua.
¿Y en dónde se va a quedar? Si ya con 5 este lugar se ve muy chico.
Nos ponemos al horno ese hijo de puta para que se caliente en el invierno, ¿verdad, más?
Jocelyn, ¿a dónde vas?
Ya vengo.
Mira, ¿alguna vez has escuchado hablar de la descocina?
No, ¿qué es
No,
eso?
nunca. Verá.
Hechizado de tu forma de ser, baby, no me explico. Con forma de un intento a poseer, embrujado de
Pero baila conmigo, una cancioncita, por lo menos.
Solo quiero que muevas ese cuerpo donde mí. Alguien como tú, para mí. Entrégate que yo me entregaré junto a ti. Alguien como tú, para mí. Tráeme ese cuerpo que me atrae, Tráeme ese cuerpo que me atrae.
¿Dónde vamos?
Aquí nomás al sofá para estar más cómodo.
Hay gente ahí.
Dale pues aquí entonces.
Tranquilo.
Mira, chaval, no te irás a la cena conmigo.
¿Qué te pasa?
Ey, ¿qué pasó? Relájate. Ey. La puta.
Con forma de un incendio, que muevas ese cuerpo donde mí. Alguien como tú.
¿Qué pasó?
Entrégate que yo me entregaré junto a ti.
Cecilia. Cecilia, espera. Cecilia. ¿Qué pasó? Cecilia. Cecilia, espérate. Cecilia, ¿qué pasó?
Me dejaste sola.
Discúlpame, Cecilia, discúlpame, pero es que yo pensé que te estabas divirtiendo.
Diviértete tú, ya me voy.
No, Cecilia.
Hola.
Hola. Qué noche la de ayer, ¿verdad?
Sí, un poco loca.
Sí. Oye, yo te quería pedir disculpas.
No, chica, está bien.
A veces con lo del alcohol y...
No, está bien, de verdad. Son cosas que hace uno cuando está pedo.
Sí, pues... Sí.
Pues... ahora me tienes que seguir ayudando a encontrar mi remedio.
Don't judge me, no me juzgue, no me busque, no me jode, no me jode, no me jode, no me joda. Don't judge me, no me juzgue. Don't judge me, no me juzgue. 5 años ha pasado tanto desde que hemos hablado. Pasan los recuerdos como el sol caen. Los pétalos de rosa entre concreto. Crecemos reta hermosa. Mi jaina, la reina, la butch queen, la perra. Que ventan como quieran, no me afectan sus histerias. Cargo entidades que me recomiendan. Traigo mis plantas, riego mis penas. Cuido mi fauna, pago mi deuda. Don't judge me, no me juzgue. Don't judge me, no me juzgue, no me busque. Don't judge me, no me juzgue. Don't judge me, no me juzgue, no. Don't judge me, no me juzgue. Nah, homie, like how you ain't even tripping.
Awesome. That was wonderful. Thank you so much to Xavier Galindo. I wanted to share some things that he told me that he wanted you all to know. So this film was inspired by a true event that occurred to a friend on a doctor's visit. I usually write about women leaders. I'm one of those thinkers that if the world was ruled by women, we'd be doing much better. This film was also made with many Bay Area natives. One of the main issues in this film is the experiences and realities of undocumented immigrants with doctors and housing. It also touches upon the conservatism of Latinos in general, the sexual repression attitudes we take. Sometimes we don't even explore or have the slightest idea of what we would like until we would try it. So thank you so much, Xavier. Now we're going to be having my friend Angela Hernandez. She is an actress going to be sharing some work with us today. So Angela is an actor based in Southern Oregon. She'll be reading The Epic of Gilgamesh, adapted by Carlos Zennen Trujillo. So we're going to welcome Angela to our show. Hi Angela, how are you?
Hi. Doing good. Excited. I have 4 dogs here working, so there might be some background noise. Just try and ignore that. This is an excerpt from a play that my friend Carlos wrote. He adapted The Epic of Gilgamesh for stage. We performed it for the Oregon Fringe Festival a few years ago, and I asked him to bring it back for me today, so I'll be reading you guys an abridged version of that. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. I will proclaim to the world the deeds of Gilgamesh. I will proclaim to the world the deeds of Gilgamesh. Tablet 1, Prologue and Paean. He who saw the deep, the country's foundation, he who knew, who was wise in all matters, Gilgamesh. He, everywhere. He learnt of everything, the sum of wisdom. He saw what was secret, discovered what was hidden. He brought back a tale before the deluge. He came a far road, was weary, found peace, and set down all his labor. On a tablet of stone, he built the rampart of Uruk the sheepfold. See its wall like a strand of wool. View its parapet that none could copy. Take the stairway of a bygone era, and draw near Iana, seat of Ishtar, Our Lady of Love and War, that no later king could ever copy. Climb Uruk's walls and walk back and forth. A square mile is a city, a square mile date grove, a square mile is clay pit, half a square mile the temple of Ishtar, 3 square miles is Uruk. See the tablet box of cedar, release its clasp of bronze, lift the lid of its secret, pick up the tablet of lapis lazuli and read out the travails of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh the tall, magnificent and terrible, who opened passes in the mountains, who dug wells on the slopes of the uplands, who crossed the oceans. He has no equal. Who is there can rival his kingly standing and say, like Gilgamesh, "It is I who am king"? He has no equal. The son of Ninsun, 2/3 God, 1/3 man, perfect in form, hair like thick barley. His beauty was consummate. He has no equal. He has no equal. He has no equal. Tablet 2, Gilgamesh the tyrant. The streaks of Uruk, chorus becomes citizens of Uruk. In Uruk the sheepfold he walks, back and forth like a wild bull lording it, head held aloft. He has no equal when his weapons are brandished. His companions are kept on their feet by his contests. The young men of Uruk he harries without warrant. He lets no son go free to his father. By day and by night his tyranny grows harder. Gilgamesh, this is the king, the guide of the teeming people. It is he who is the shepherd of Uruk the sheepfold. But Gilgamesh lets no daughter go free of her mother. The women voice their terribles to the gods. They brought their complaint before them, to Ishtar and to Shamash, Enki and Ninsun, and most of all to Anu, great god of the firmament, most divine lord. Gilgamesh lets no girl go free to her bridegroom. A savage wild bull you have bred in Uruk. He has no equal when his weapons are brandished. His companions are kept on their feet by his contests. The young men of Uruk he harries without warrant. He lets no son go free to his father. By day and by night his tyranny grows harder. Gilgamesh lets no daughter go free to her mother. This is the king, the guide of the teeming people. Is it he who is the shepherd of Uruk the sheepfold? Anu appears. The citizens turn away from his brilliance. He speaks to the warrior's daughter, the young man's bride. To their complaint, the god Anu paid heed. Let them summon Aruru, the great one, mother of clay. She let them summon Aruru, the great one. She created them, mankind so numerous. Let her create the equal to Gilgamesh, one mighty in strength, and let this man vie with the shepherd of Uruk, so Uruk may rest. And thus spoke the Lord of the firmament. Tablet 3, the wild man. The foothills of Ikur, mountain of Aruru. Aruru lies dormant under the river. Oh, goddess, goddess, great mother, we beseech you. Aruru stirs, then goes back to sleep. Goddess, great mother, she whose names number the stars, we plead for you. Aruru stirs, then goes back to sleep. Oh, goddess, Aruru near her sang. I beg, arise, I bring an offering. Aruru stirs. O midwife of the gods, to you I have long offered the milk of my herd as sacrificed, and you have rewarded me with 6 strong sons. But now, all but one have perished in contest with my king. I am old, I have not given suck in many years, but I offer this to you, to rouse you from your slumber, the last of my woman's milk, in drops on the foot of your mountain home. 1 drop and her eye opened. 2 drops and she rose to her feet. 3 drops and she looked towards us, gaze benevolent and sweet. Oh, my children, what great calamity would lead you to rouse your mother from her slumber? Gilgamesh, the tyrant king, he ravishes his people, his suffering people who know no peace. Is this the shepherd of the people? There is no withstanding the desire of this wild bull. You made this man, now create another. Create his double and let the two contend. Let stormy heart contain with stormy heart, that peace may come to Uruk once again. Stormy heart for stormy heart. So let it be done. The goddess Aruru washed her hands, took a pinch of clay and shaped it in her hands. She made a man of great proportion. She gave him a pelt of hair, thick and coarse, like Sumsangan, god of cattle, the strength of Ninurta, god of war, long tresses of hair, thick like the grain of the field, long as the hair of a woman, and the breath of life. And Kidu emerges from between Aruru's legs covered in the mud of the river. He knows not a people, nor even a country. With the gazelles he grazes on the grasses, joining the throngs with the games at the waterhole, and his heart delighting with the beast in the water. Then a hunter appears. A hunter, a trapper man did come by the waterhole. He saw Enkidu. He stood expressionless, his mood despondent. Then with his silent dogs he went home to his father's house, fear in his belly. My father, there was a man, came by the waterhole, mightiest in the land. His strength is as mighty as a rock from the sky. Over a hill he roams all day. Always with the herd he grazes on the grasses. He fills the pits I dig. He pulls up the snares I lay. He sets all the beasts I catch free. But I am afraid, and I dare not approach him. My son, take the road. Set your face towards Uruk. Go seek out Gilgamesh, for his strength is as mighty as a rock from the sky. But do not rely on the strength of a man. Beg Gilgamesh to grant you Shamhat, the harlot. Her allure is a match for even the mighty. When the herd comes down to the waterhole, she should strip her raiment to reveal her charms. He will lie with her, and the beast will spurn him, though he grew almost among them. Heeding his father's advice, he set out towards Uruk. He walked under the great gates and through the gardens of Yana to the palace of Gilgamesh. And there, under the great canopy of rubies and lapis lazuli, he knelt down and told Gilgamesh the story of this wild man of the plains. Gilgamesh speaks. Go, hunter. Take with you Shamhat the harlot, who, when she sees him, will strip off her raiment. She will show him her breasts, and with her beauty she will conquer him. The beasts will shun him. They will flee from him, and you shall hunt at your leisure. The hunter was sent from the king's presence with Shamhat, and he delivered to her to the waterhole, and she saw a child of nature, the savage man from the midst of the wilds, delighting with the beasts in the water. Then Kidu enters with the gazelles. This is he, Shamhat. Uncradle your bosom, bare your sex. Let him take in your beauty. Do not recoil, but take in his scent. He will see you and approach you. Spread your clothing so he may lie with you. Let his passion caress and embrace you. And Kidu and Shamhat dance. His passion caressed and embraced her, and for 6 days and 7 nights, Enkidu was erect as he coupled with her. The gazelles abandoned Enkidu. Enkidu had defiled his body so pure. His legs stood still, though his herd was in motion. He could not run as before. Now he had reason and a wide understanding. You are handsome, Enkidu. You are like a god. Why wander with the beasts in the wild? Come, I will take you to Uruk, to the sacred temple, home of Ishtar and of Anu, where Gilgamesh, perfect in strength, lords over the menfolk. So she spoke to him, and her words found favor. Enkidu sat at her feet and listened intensely. He knew by instinct he should vie with this man and seek him out. He said to her, to the harlot, Shamhat, take me to Uruk, to this Gilgamesh. I will challenge him, for my strength is mighty. I will vault myself in Uruk, saying, I am the mightiest, and I shall change the way things are ordered. For there is none can match the strength of him born in the wild. Shamhat and the chorus caress Enkidu and sing in his ear. Let the people see your face. Go to Uruk. Let the people see your face. Go to Uruk. Enkidu and Shamhat exit. Enter priestess. Tablet 4. Gilgamesh dreams. Gilgamesh reclines on his bed, surrounded by servants and offerings of fruit and wine. It is Gilgamesh who is the favored of the god of the sun, Shamash. The god Anu, Enlil, and Ea brought in his wisdom. But it was Ninsun, his mother, who favored him most. In the night he rouses, terrified, and calls out for her. Mother, mother, come to me, I have had a dream. Ninsun walks down from the sky on the backs of servants. My boy, my handsome son, what should trouble the king so much that he would call to his mother so? Gilgamesh hugs her legs like a child. Oh, mother, in my dream the stars of heaven appeared above me like a rock from the sky. One fell down before me. I lifted it up, but it weighed too much for me. I tried to roll it, but I could not dislodge it. The land of Uruk was gathered about it, a crowd before it. The menfolk thronged about, kissing its feet. Then, like a wife, I loved it and caressed it and embraced it. I lifted it up and set it down at your feet. And you, mother, you made it my equal. My son, my handsome boy, a mighty comrade will come to you and be his friend's savior. Mightiest in the land by the strength he possesses, mighty as a rock fallen from the sky. May it befall me, mother. Oh, mother, by counselors of Anil's command, let me acquire a friend to counsel me. Ninsun strokes Gilgamesh's hair and struns the Hurrian hymn on a zither. The streets of Uruk. Chorus becomes citizens of Uruk. Tablet 5, The Taming. And if you are interested, you need to check out the work of Carlos Zennen Trujillo, the fabulous playwright who wrote just a piece of this beautiful thing. Thank you for tuning in with me today, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Angela.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's the end of our performances tonight, but before we go, I wanted to show you one last piece by Vasta. Once again, this is where you can find her clothing line. So this is different than her other coats that I've been wearing this evening. I'm going to be showing one of her dresses. So this is one of them. One of my favorite parts of Vasta's dresses is that it has these enormous pockets, which for me, I don't have to carry a purse when I wear them, and I love that. So Vasta, she knows all the things I would like in her clothes. So Vasta, we're going to welcome her back on to share one more piece of her work. Vasta?
Thank you, Bianca, and for hosting. Right now I have on this beautiful mini skirt. It's pretty much for summer, or however you want to wear it, but it's pretty much for summer, very fitted, very chic. This is one of the skirts I make out of scrap materials because we do not waste any materials at my shop. Everything we recycle into pillowcases, small skirts, table runners, anything, earrings. So we are all about sustainable living by recycling everything and by doing the best we can with every single scraps we have left. Also, all our outfits are made from African print that are 100% cotton, and we test them before we make them. That's about it for now. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to next time or seeing you on my shop. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vasta. That was wonderful. I'm so glad I got to feature all your work this evening. So later tomorrow I will be adding the links to all the artists that were featured tonight and also to the film and to Vasta's clothing line so you can access that a little bit more easily. Thank you for joining us. If we are able to have another show, it will be on Saturday, May 23rd. And if you'd like to be featured, please contact me. This is where you can find me. And I would be so honored to feature you for one of our next shows. All right, thank you.